Good evening, everybody. It is the 18th of July, 2016, and this is the Surly Grognards. This is Peter Bowman, and as always, I'm joined by my good friend and co-host, Eric Carlson. How are you doing tonight, Eric?
I'm doing all right.
Excellent. So it's been a little while since we've done another episode, and I didn't really have neither of us really had an idea for an episode until I sort of said, why don't we try doing one of those brainstorming campaigns idea things that we've done before, which seem fairly
Yeah.
popular, actually.
Yeah, we should do one of those. We shall do one of those.
Right. So I shouted out on Twitter for a couple of suggestions, and we got some ideas. I'm not sure how well we could do them. They might work some of it might work their way in. The two suggestions we got on Twitter were maybe some sort of mystery thing, which was thanks to Captain Freetime, I believe. Let me double check that to make sure I'm correct. Yeah. And the other was from our friend Word on the Wind, who's just a transhumanist sci-fi, which
Yeah,
I think
here's
is an
the thing.
interesting idea.
Yeah, the problem with transhumanist sci-fi is I haven't read a lot of it, but I've read some, and it always seems to center around a couple ideas. Um, con, Consciousness ascending to purely digital, or like crazy over the top body mod, so you're not technically human anymore, or some combination of those. There's neat ideas there, but I'm not sure how you could codify that into a game system.
Uh,
I mean, how do you have your sapient AI cloud hang out with the giant meat factory and go and have adventures together?
I don't know. There are some transhumanist RPGs out there, or at least ones with transhumanist ideas in them. From what I
Right.
understand, that's sort of the whole deal Eclipse Phase has.
I actually have never heard of that game.
Ah, well, there you go. But I'm not actually that conversant on transhumanist sci-fi, to be totally honest.
I've
I
only
love.
read a few short stories of it, and it's always been interesting. But yeah, it's I suppose technically Ghost in the Shell is pretty transhumanist.
Yeah,
And that you've got a lot of this stuff with full conversion Borgs and the whole idea of hacking someone's brain and their senses and whatnot. So,
I mean, the whole cyberpunk thing is somewhat transhumanist, anyways.
mm.
I mean, just as a general rule of thumb. But again, it's not really my bailiwick is the problem.
Cyberpunk's more my bailiwick.
Yep.
But like when you start getting into the really out there stuff, I've only sampled a few things of it.
Right.
I should read more of it. Honestly, it's always been interesting.
Right. So, some concepts from one of those might make it in. I mean, maybe some mystery stuff will make it in. Who knows? But see, we're sort of focusing more on game worlds when we do this sort of thing than on a particular campaign idea. Although usually we'll try to narrow it down to a campaign idea also while we're doing this.
Right. Well, when you're building the world, one can inform the other.
Right. Exactly. And so doing a mystery-related thing that falls more into a specific campaign rather than a campaign world. So.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could have a campaign world that is a gigantic mystery for the players to solve. But yeah,
Why do people like tea? Solve it.
that's not a very good mystery to build a campaign world around, Eric.
Yeah, it's true. Unless there's some sort of big, vile, like, conspiracy in place. And in place by eldritch powers beyond our ken.
Okay.
And now I've turned tea into an eldritch horror. Let's go play Call of Cthulhu.
Right. So we're going to be doing live brainstorming, which we've done. I said we've done a few times before. We did a what I thought was a very good fantasy world, which we came up with.
Yep.
The superhero world we did also was pretty damn good, I thought.
Mm.
The sci-fi one was not as fleshed out as I would have liked to have been. We didn't.
Yeah, the sci-fi one we got trapped by too much freedom, as weird as that sounds.
Yeah, it was kind of strange. So I'm thinking to instead of picking a particular specific genre, sort of as I was thinking about it, I was thinking we start with sort of something, one sort of genre, and then start throwing stuff onto it. So I was thinking we could start with the base concept being at least somewhat modern day,
Okay.
as somewhere to begin, and then start throwing other stuff onto it, maybe. Unless you've got a better position, better sort of starting point than I.
No, we
Than
can
that.
do somewhat modern day. I'm thinking.
All
My
right.
first thought is doing an alternate history where the crazy pulpy stuff of the 20s and 30s was real, and extrapolating forward from that.
All right. So, which particular crazy pulpy stuff are you talking about from that era?
All of it.
Well, there's a lot of it, though, Eric.
And robots and trips to Mars. Well, Mars has an atmosphere, and you don't actually need. Yeah, like all of that zany stuff.
Okay, so we're going full on every pulp
We're
ever.
going full on batshit insane craziness. Yeah.
Okay.
Full on Silver Age superheroes minus the superheroes.
Well, that era is more Golden Age, really, but.
Okay, yeah, Golden Age, fine.
All right. Well, actually, you saying that sort of makes me think. Well, if we're gonna be extrapolating out, so we're talking modern day pulp is what we're talking.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, I'm down with this. I'm totally down with this. So we're going modern day pulp with this. I like it. All right. So I as much as I love the idea of like all of the pulp stuff being true, I think we need to narrow it down some.
Okay.
Do we want to go? So my big sort of narrowing point for this is: do we want to go pulp era sci-fi, pulp era sort of, or pulp era mysticism is sort of the big thing?
Yeah.
Because
you can't really.
I mean, you can have a little bit of this.
They kind of inform each other. I mean, you've got like
right.
John Carter of Mars is an excellent example of the two sort of informing each other and playing off of one another.
But you gotta have a focus.
Mars.
But one of them has to be a focus, I think.
Yeah. Let's go with sci-fi because that means more robots.
I kind of figured that's where we'd end up because Eric loves his robots, and so do I. So let's be honest.
Who doesn't love robots?
All right, so as much as I would my first instinct for pulp era sci-fi, my first thought is Nikola Tesla should be a driving force of it. The problem with that is Atomic Robo already exists.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I love Atomic Robo. It's amazing. If you haven't read Atomic Robo, go read it. It's amazing. It's on the web, atomicrobo.com.
Atomic Robo is made entirely out of love.
It's on the it's a lot of it's been put on the web in webcomic form. It's a comic book by
up for free. Go read it. Read all of it.
Yes.
It's awesome. You will not regret it.
Seriously. Brian Clevenger
How do we even have a square cube law?
All right, so that said,
is clearly evil. Come on, guys. Where is there steam coming out of a computer? This is evil.
Right, and this is the sort of thing that, Atomic Robo is something that will be sort of an inspiration for this, I suspect.
Yeah.
Although I suspect we'll also end up going a bit. I think knowing us, we're probably going to go a bit further, bit more extra planetary. Is sort of my gut feeling.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm thinking War of the Worlds was not a book by H.G. Wells, but a historical account.
I like it. There we go. All right, so there are Martians, and they invaded, and they lost because of actually, except for in this case, it was going badly, but the top scientists from around the world banded together to create weapons to actually fight them in the end.
I like this idea because we can steal liberally from the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Their first use of germ warfare against the.
Except I don't want to go there. Is the thing.
Okay.
I want it to be a little bit different. Specifically because that means we're not actually hitting League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Okay.
Also, one of the general sort of things I love about pulp era sci-fi is that the science is always hopeful.
Right. Okay. Fair enough.
And the problem with the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen angle is it's very modern
it's
and very
war, therefore it's bleak as fuck.
Right, and that's the problem with the whole gym warfare thing.
Yeah.
And I'm okay. I think it's a great story. I think it's a cool idea. But that's not where I think we should end up going if we want to get the full feel of pulp sci-fi.
Okay, then how about we just push the date of the Martian invasion back a bit to Tesla's time, where the death ray, he doesn't destroy the death ray, and it actually works, and that's how they defeat the Martians.
Right. Or yeah, something along those. It even could be like one of Tesla's students finds it. Like,
Yes. Actually, I really like that. I like the idea of like keeping Tesla's like tragic ending in place, but having him save the world from beyond the grave with his designs from one of his students.
Right. So exactly. So like his death ray is important. His whole thing of transmitted energy is a part of the whole thing too.
Yes. The sympathetic vibrations gets turned into a sonic cannon.
Right. Exactly. Stuff like that. So all this stuff that Tesla found horrifying and buried because he didn't like the death ray, and his earthquake device. These are all things that were resurrected specifically to defend the Earth against the Martians. And it took a sort of a gathering of the world's best scientists at the time to be able to assemble and
right, like we have some prototypes and some notes, and that's all we've got to work with.
Right.
This guy was a fucking mad genius. How do we do this?
Right. So we've got that, and so the Martians have been driven off of Earth for now.
Yes.
But they have not been defeated.
Yeah, there's been a perpetual sort of Cold War between Earth and Mars, sort of U.S. and Soviet.
Right. So that's step one.
Proxy wars on Venus with the poor Venetians.
That's part of. I like that too. Right. So that happened. So we've got that whole thing, and World of the Worlds was when? I forget off the top of my head.
It was 1850s, I want to say.
Right.
The book mostly focuses on London, but yeah, I want to say the 1850s. So we just push it back to like the 30s. Like Archduke Ferdinand starts off World War I, then the Martians land, and everyone goes, whoa.
Well, World War One is like
fucking tripods.
World War I is 1919.
Really, War of the Worlds is 1919.
No, World War I.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Push it back to 1919.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. I thought you said 1930 for a second.
The Martians hit during the opening weeks of World War I. Everyone stops shooting each other and turns to fight the Martians.
All right, I like it. So in this alternate history, this alternate pulp history, we lose the Nazis.
Yeah, no Nazis.
I'm okay with this.
Yeah.
That makes it a very different pulp feel. We don't have the Nazis.
That doesn't mean we don't have fascists, though.
Oh, of course not.
Because punching fascists is a core part of pulp fiction.
Right. I mean, the world is not fully united. I mean, that's a given. I mean,
yeah.
Duh.
In fact, I'm willing to say a bunch of Central Europe is under fascist thrall because they're the ones that took power after the devastation of the initial Martian landing.
Right. Well, they were able to rebuild things.
Yeah. Like, unless your name is Mussolini, fascists do actually get things done. They're just really evil about it.
Yeah, they do it in really awful ways. All right, so we've got that. So we've got a world where
and fascist Central Europe gives us evil Prussians to fight.
Yes. Which is a wonderful different thing to fight than Nazis. They're totally different. Yes.
Yes, they're Prussians. We'll go with Prussians. Yes.
So we've got the Prussians, and oh god, we're gonna end up with Clockwork Automaton for the Prussians.
We have to have Clockwork Automatons.
Yes, absolutely. So yes, the Prussians and their Clockwork armies.
Yes.
Because
yes.
Because the Martians have. While there's a sort of Cold War going on between Earth and the Martians, things have cooled off enough. The Martians have been at bay long enough for the Prussians to decide that Well, now is the time when we can actually start doing our thing.
Yes. And of course they have clockwork automatons because they had the vast majority of the Martian tech because the Martians landed in Europe.
Right.
Which means they managed to reverse the tech on the most tripods, which we're going to decide work on a kind of like etheric perpetual motion that drives clockwork.
I like it. There we go.
That's ridiculous and awesome.
I like it. Excellent. All right, so what did the Brits get out of the invasion? Because they got hit pretty hard too.
The Brits got AI.
I like it.
So the Brits actually have automatic men that are fully sapient and capable, and theoretically immortal. No one's sure.
I like it. So the Brits have the best computing.
Yes.
Okay. Oh God, that's great. What's his name? Shoot, I'm blanking on his name all of a sudden.
Yeah,
Turing, Alan Turing.
Turing, yes. Turing is the one that cracked the Martian computers.
There we go. Excellent. That makes perfect sense.
The Prussians have legions of destructive, mindless clockwork automatons. The Brits and by extension America have fully sapient, brilliant atomic men, not atomic men, auto men.
Auto men, yes.
Called. Because we have to. We can't call them robots.
Right.
That's what the Prussians call them, because robot is grew out of the Slavic term for slave.
It did indeed.
So of course, there's no way right-thinking free the right-thinking free states would ever use the term robot for their automen.
Right. So, but we got this sort of ongoing sort of, the Prussian threat is growing. Yeah. The rise of the fascists and such. Odds are, by this point, I'm guessing. The question is what happens in Russia.
Yeah, because World War I is really the driving force behind both the red and the white revolutions, which gave us the Soviet Union.
Sorry, Eric, my headset cut out there for a second. I apologize.
I'm sorry. World War I is really what drove the Red Revolution, the White Revolution, and the Red Revolution.
It was indeed.
Which was the Soviet Union. What
specifically happened? Again, this is one of the things I happen to do know. I've studied this. Right. Lenin actually started the revolution a lot earlier than he did because he assumed that than he originally thought of doing, especially in Russia, where basically the general sort of theory on Marx posited on what would cause the revolution to happen. You'd have to have you'd have to have a fully industrialized state first, and Russia wasn't at the time.
Right, which is one of the reasons why they got their asses kicked in World War I.
And what Lenin figured through his contacts in Germany was that, okay, well, if we actually revolt now, what's going on with the war there will cause our German friends to be able to take over, and then they will help industrialize us after everything's said and done, and the world war will just end. So we'll revolt, pull out of the war, then the Germans will do the same thing, and they'll help us. It'll be great. And it didn't happen.
Yeah, because the Germans were like, but we have a middle class. We like stuff. Capitalism's actually working for us at the moment. At the moment.
But yes, Lenin was convinced that Germany was at the tipping point because of the war, and he wasn't entirely wrong.
Wasn't entirely wrong. It took the.
But at any rate,
World War I Germany could have gone three ways. You could have had a communist revolution. If the Treaty of Versailles wasn't as harsh as it was, they might have ended up one of the great democracies of the world, because they're on the way there. And or we could have had what happened, which was Nazis.
Yeah. But anyways, back to what we're doing.
Back to what we're doing.
So, okay, but we have the crucible of the alien invasion, which very well could have driven the Soviet, because Lenin would have been there. Lenin was around, but Lenin and the Bolsheviks and the Mensheviks were around before World War I.
You know what happens?
Okay.
This is what I think is what should happen in Russia.
Okay.
Lenin has his revolution, but gets assassinated by Stalin, who is swayed by the fascist belief systems. Because let's face facts, Stalin was a fascist through and through. He just used communist propaganda.
Oh, so we could actually have sort of a divided Russia, with camps sort of warring between Lenin, between Stalin and Trotsky.
And Stalin's Russia is actually part of the Greater Prussian Empire.
Right, with Trotsky holding out against him.
Yes.
And with actually, it'd almost be divided 3 ways. So you have the few loyalists who are sticking behind the Tsar.
Yes, because we have to have a Tsar. Has to be a Tsar.
Ooh. So here's the question. So here's my question. In most ways, a monarchy is completely and utterly antithetical to anything that the Mensheviks would have stood for, which is the people who followed Trotsky.
Right.
But in order to oppose Stalin and his fascist regime, would they have sided with the Tsar?
I think the situation is eternally fluid with sides. With sides.
Oh, that's an interesting idea. So we have
Russia's a fucking mess.
So we have St. Petersburg as this independent state ruled by the Tsar. That both the Menshevik, both Trotsky's people and Stalin's people are trying to woo to their side.
Yes.
So they can have the symbolic capital of Russia under their flag.
Yes.
And it hasn't gone either way yet.
Because Nick dies, but because his family survives, Anastasia takes the crown. So you have a Tsarina.
Yes.
And Tsarina's ridiculously savvy. He knows how to play one side off the other.
There we go. So she's lost most of her country, but she's holding her throne for the time being, and is trying to figure out a way to make because she does. While I can imagine she would respect Trotsky in a lot of ways for a lot of things he stands for. Because Trotsky was actually a fairly decent guy, all things considered.
Yeah, all around, Trotsky was a decent guy, which is why Stalin got the drop on him and got him dead.
Well, he didn't get him dead immediately.
No.
Stalin maneuvered.
Then got dead.
Stalin maneuvered Lenin into appointing him as successor instead of Trotsky, who was Lenin's original choice for successor. Right. Trotsky saw that happen and said, the handwriting's on the wall. I am leaving because Stalin will have me killed. Unfortunately, Stalin had him killed anyways.
Right, because, he was too,
Stalin was
Trotsky
paranoid.
Had too much symbolic power, honestly. And Stalin was a paranoid fuckwit.
Yes. And I would say, the Tsar. So I don't know what we give to. So here's what I'm thinking. The one advantage that Anastasia has and her people have that's keeping people from conquering St. Petersburg, which is why they're trying to woo her. Is trying to basically politically take it over as opposed to just crushing it. Which is the one example of mysticism that's actually working in the world that we know of specifically. Because
she has magic.
She has magic, and specifically
she has Martian defectors after the war.
Martian defectors, I like that. And specifically
a cabal of Martian scientists who got stranded on Earth and sought asylum, and everyone was blood hungry for Martians, and she gave them asylum.
So between that and the fact that Rasputin isn't dead,
because he's fucking immortal.
Right. And
yes, and despite the fact that she should be 100, she doesn't look a day over 40.
There we go. All right, so we got that. We got all of that going on. And this is a great this is the setting. So the Prussians are basically trying to take over Europe. Britain the Prussians have mostly taken over Europe at this point.
Right.
Britain is one of the last bastions because of their incredible computer technology and their allies in the West, and their allies in like the Americas.
Yep. Because Americans have industry. That's always been what they've had.
All right, and so in this situation, because of what happened
And
during World War One,
because I want sky ships.
oh, we gotta have sky ships. That's a given. Here's another big turning point. Because of what happened with Russia and what happened with the Martians invading, this changes what happens with Japan's involvement in World War One. And
I don't remember Japan's involvement in World War One at all.
Well, that's the thing is Japan wasn't involved in World War One. They were involved in stuff in Russia right before it, and they were screwed over by the West. Because basically, there was the Sino-Russian war, the Russian war between between Russia and Japan. Russia and Japan fought a war before World War One, and Japan basically won. And Tsar Nicholas sent Vita to I think it was Vita. No, I can't remember the guy's name. To as his ambassador, there was a big sort of meeting that where the results of the basically and to basically negotiate the peace settlement. And the West all basically sided with Russia and gave almost all the territory Japan took from Russia back to Russia. And this has made Japan very angry. And it's a large part of the reason why Japan ended up allying with the Germans during World War II. Long festering resentment against the West. Against people who screwed them. So what if in this situation that didn't happen? That's one of the minor tweaks that was a little bit different before the Martians invaded.
Okay, yeah, I can...
So Japan wasn't shafted by them. So Japan actually legally controls like a bit of eastern Russia, the bit on the coast, and they've integrated Korea and bits of China also into Japan. So Japan's bigger, and they have resources, and they're not bitter with the West. So when the Martians invade, they don't hit Japan.
Yeah, they don't hit Japan. So Japan becomes this like big bastion of yeah. So Japan basically has this population explosion, and Japan becomes like friggin' but as refugees flood into there because they don't have friggin' goddamn tripods rampaging all over the place.
Right.
Japan becomes this giant cosmopolitan, like, cultural hub for the world. Japan's neutral ground for all of Earth.
Right.
No one fucks with Japan because it's Japan. They took care of everyone. What a bizarro twist that is.
But isn't it interesting?
Yeah, that's a really bizarro twist.
But the interesting thing is that Japan still has that slightly xenophobic sort of attitude and sense of superiority, and the fact their emperor is divine as far as they're concerned. Right. Japan's got this long-term plan to basically become the rulers of the world, and they're doing it this way by being neutral.
They're doing it with the civilization cultural victory instead of military, because the Prussians are doing it with the military version.
And they realize, but they also realize the extraplanetary threat, and they can't afford to. They realize that too much military pressure from citizens of the world will just open things up for the Martians, and they can't have that.
Because Mars is still there. Mars is sitting there biding its time.
Right.
With their giant tentacle jelly faces, because we're using the original descriptions of them.
Right. Which is awesome. All right, so we got that, and so we've got all that. So there's technological sharing between all the allies. So Prussia and Stalin's Russia are allied against basically so England, the States, Canada, probably Mexico too, and Japan basically at this point.
Yeah, because Mexico's actually in a much better much better spot than now, because there was never a war on drugs because it was never necessary.
Right. And,
not that it was ever necessary, but
yes, Africa's developing at whatever pace. We're not going to. Unfortunately, we really can't focus on Africa right now. I don't know enough about Africa during the period either, anyways.
Yeah, let's. let's say Africa's the sick old man of the world, because the Africans in World War One united and came together as this like massive fighting force that were a major force to drive off the Martians. But the Martians used some kind of weapon that caused massive desertification across Africa. So
Okay.
the Sahara's spreading is at like 10 times the rate.
Okay.
So they have a lot of technology and support and everything, but they're teetering on the brink of falling. But they're
and it's one that is
much better than they do now.
and it's one of the things that the most people are basically working and trying to find a way to fix it.
Yes.
It's one of the things that scientists
the major like one of the major forces of actual cooperation between all these earthly rivals is fixing what happened in Africa so the Martians don't do it again.
Right. That's a good point. Dwani's got Dwani in the chat says apartheid did not happen in South Africa, so Britain still controls shipping in that part of the world. That's actually a valid point. So where does India fit into all of this? Technically speaking, they'd be since
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that Gandhi didn't happen.
Okay, I like that. Gandhi happened. Yes, India is independent because, of course, it is.
India is independent, and is pulling the same trick between China and the Prussians that the whatchamacallit, that the Tsarina is doing, Anastasia is doing. Because Gandhi has also figured out mysticism and is also effectively immortal.
I like it. I like it. I like it. Different style of mysticism. Right.
Yes.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so we got that bits going on there. So that is where the world is at. That's the point at which this is where the campaign world begins.
Yes. I also want Zeppelins because the Hindenburg didn't happen, and I want Zeppelins everywhere because that's awesome.
We got Zeppelins. We got airships. We got airships of all sorts of different types.
Yes.
So here's the question. So this is where the campaign begins. We have Mars as this looming threat, and I think sort of a great bit, depending on what type of campaign we're running, determines what is happening with Mars. Because if we're planning on doing sort of a more if we're doing sort of a more military-themed game, this could be when Mars decides to make its second attack.
Yeah.
But if we're doing a more sort of adventure sort of, exploration thing, sort of traditional pulp adventurer type thing, then we have to keep the Cold War between Earth and Mars going.
Yeah. I'm suddenly thinking like one of the things that could happen is you're having your big adventure to because let's say you're hired, but the adventurers are working for the States or for England or for Britain or what have you, or even for the United Africa, and they're going into the Chinese interior to unlock spooky Oriental mysticism, because Pulp.
No, see.
They don't find any of that, but what they do find is a secret Martian base.
Okay, I like it. Yes. Up in the Himalayas?
Yes.
I like it. That's good. That's one definitive possibility. The other thing I was thinking just occurred to me, harkening back to your whole sort of thing of the Pulp thing, the Pulp sort of theory on Venus being all sort of tropical jungles and such. If we want that sort of thing where the Pulps had sort of the deepest, darkest jungles of Africa where people went exploring, that's Venus.
Yeah. Yes, because the Venetians have been suffering under these occasional proxy wars between Earth and Mars, because there's of course a space program, because we had to take it back to the Martians and got beaten back similarly.
Right, because the Martian environment, while technically survivable, Earth is not great for Martians to live on, but it's technically survivable, which is why they want to terraform it. Well, they want to, I guess, Marsiform it, I guess.
Yeah.
And similarly, Mars.
Spot.
What?
Aerospot.
And Mars is, again, humans can survive there, but it's also not great. And
yeah.
And so if we wanted to live,
so we tried to invade Mars because how dare they? Also, we get to colonize Mars because all of this happened during World War One. So like the colonialism is still a thing that happens, except now we're doing it interplanetarily.
Right.
Because we're jerks.
Right. And so there's a lot of there's
back.
Right. So Mars and Earth are sort of contending for who actually gets to claim Venus.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So yeah, so
you have the So what happens is the Venetians, while suffering under the constant Terran and Martian aggression, actually are really good at subtle like spy games and guerrilla warfare. So they have a base in the jungles in the Congo. That no one knows about. As far as anyone's concerned, the Venetians have never gotten off planet.
Right. Okay. So
something similar on Mars also.
Right. So, all right. I'm thinking the Venusians might have some sort of crazy trick that allow them to. What do the Venusians look like? Is the question.
Let me see here. So the Martians are basically land octopi.
Right.
So let's have the Venusians be... Oh, you know what'd be really awesome? If the Venusians were like, had sort of like a weird like Drider kind of thing, and they're both sides find them beautiful, both because of their multiple long gleaming legs for the Martians, and their distressingly human-looking features for the humans.
So okay.
So both sides find them like Venus is a planet of beauty. Both sides find them beautiful for entirely different reasons. But Venusians are also cannibals, are also purely carnivorous, and are kind of cannibalistic.
I think the cannibalistic.
No qualms about eating other sapiens.
Maybe I'm not sure that works. That fits in well with everything else we're doing.
Okay.
I like that. I like the carnivorous thing.
Yeah.
That's just alien enough to fit in. Because we're already breaking from sort of traditional pulp alien thing by having the aliens being very much inhuman.
Yes. I didn't.
Which I like.
Thought we'd go with tall, thin. Go with the tall, thin beauties with weird skin color. But then I was like, but the Martians are really horrific and alien. So let's make the Venusians really beautiful but alien.
Yeah, I like. No, that's the thing. It's like in traditional pulp sci-fi, the Martians would basically human also.
Yeah.
But since we made them alien, I like the fact that the Venusians are still also very alien also. I totally approve of that. I think it's great. It's a good departure from. I like it how it's a nice departure from traditional pulp. I think it's good. We need to do that in certain areas. So yeah,
I like the idea of the Venusians having sort of a chitin, and it being very shiny. I like the idea of them looking like living chrome.
Okay, I like it. So that is where we are. This is what we have for the world. And again, so the potential campaign things. We got all sorts of places you can set up for adventure in this. So we've got possibly infiltration agents going to Mars to try to steal secrets from the Martians. And that you could be agents from any. They could be affiliated with any of the groups.
Yeah, any of the powers for this.
Or you could be people who are sort of doing operations against the Prussians because you could be.
Of course, the Prussians still have a base there.
The Prussians have yes.
The Prussians are evil fascists. They have bases everywhere.
Right. But I'm just saying even operating on Earth and doing operations against the Prussians or and so how the last question I have for world building question is how good do we want space travel to be?
I think it should be done with big gleaming rockets.
Well, that's a given.
Maybe with solar sails.
Okay, I like the solar sails.
You can have big gleaming rockets pointing up from the ground, and once they get into space, they deploy sails and look like fucking galleons.
I like it. I like sort of weird galleons, but yes.
Yes.
So here's a question: are there pirates in the asteroid belt?
Of course there are pirates in the asteroid
All
belt.
right. Thank you, Zenith, for that
There's
suggestion.
space travel. This is Pulp. They're going to be space pirates.
Okay, so there is settlement going on in, like... So there are settlements in, like... So if we terraform the moon by this point is the question.
No. No,
Okay.
I think we skipped the moon entirely.
Okay, we skipped the moon entirely.
And that's
there's just not enough there to work with.
Secretly, the Venusians used the moon as a staging base for their covert ops against both Mars and Earth.
Okay, I like it.
One knows it, but the Venusians own the moon.
I like it. The Venusians own the moon. Got it. I like it. All right, so that is where we have the campaign world. I think we've got enough detail there for, So it's been coming on at this point, like 50, 60 years since the Martians invaded. 70 years even. Maybe even longer.
Maybe even 100 years. Because World War I was 100 years ago.
Just about. Not quite yet, but getting close. But yeah, this campaign could be literally 100 years after the Martians invaded. And the Martians have not invaded yet, but they're prepping. Everyone, like, the Martians are actually prepping to do so. And the campaign could be that the Martians invade, and you have to deal with that. Or it's possible that, a campaign setting would be maybe a good campaign idea would be agents of one of the powers start seeing indications that maybe the Martians are up to something and try to figure out what it is.
I think, you could even play space privateers attacking Martian water shipments from Europa.
Okay.
Because one of the driving forces for the Martians invading was they wanted Earth's water. And it was a lot easier to take over Earth than continuing shipping stuff from Europa.
Okay.
For whatever reason. So, after they get beat back from Earth, they increase shipments to Europa for ice harvesting, which is why you have one of the big reasons why you have asteroid belt pirates. Because there's a lot of profit in attacking Martian ships loaded with water. Both because you can sell the water on the Martian black market, and because...
All right, so there's a Martian black market, which means there is some... Humans do go to Mars anyways. Not like just like there's got to be some sort of like Terran embassy on Mars.
Yeah, and the Martians will have one on Earth.
Right.
We'll say
the Martian embassy is clearly somewhere in Japan.
Yes.
It's got to be a neutral ground.
Let's say, what was the Japanese port during the Edo period that they actually let the Dutch use? We put the Martian embassy there.
Okay, let me double check that. I don't remember that off the top of my head. That was... This is what during the Tokugawa... Yeah, okay, so... it was either Osaka or it was Edo itself, actually.
Okay. So let's say Edo, because history and tradition. We let foreigners come in through Edo before. Well, let them do it again. They'll be from space now.
Oh no, it's... God, I can't find what it is. I think it's either Edo or Osaka. I just don't remember which. So yeah, definitely. We'll put it wherever that port was. We'll have to look that up later.
Yeah, we'll look it up later. That's the Martian embassy.
That's where the Martian embassy is. Yep. All right, so we got that. So again, so at this point we should come up with a few campaign sort of seeds for people listening. Is where I think we wrap things up for this thing.
Okay.
So again, we've got the first campaign seed is obviously the players are agents for one of the powers of the world, and I like the concept of basically being sort of roaming sort of agents who are not directly tied, not like leashed to their they're out doing investigative stuff, and they stumble across some stuff hinting that the Martians are up to something, which will lead them to investigating, which eventually leads to finding out that the Martians are preparing to actually invade again.
Yes. You could even do we could even play it up where the Martians have agents highly placed in fascist Prussia.
I was just going there.
Manipulating. That's why the Prussians are becoming so aggressive, is because these highly placed agents are pushing events in such a way to.
Well, there could almost even be like a very secret, quiet treaty between the Prussians and the Martians.
Yes.
That eventually
because fascists are always evil and they have to be working with the Martians.
Right. So the group will actually that when the Martians invade, the Prussians will be on their side at least until the rest of the world's conquered, and then the agreement will be okay, and then we will see who reigns supreme between the two of us.
Right.
Because the Martians learned something from the last thing, is that they can't that Earth is more difficult than they thought it was.
And now Earth will instantly unite against them, making things even more difficult.
So they have to get some of the Earthlings on their side.
Yeah, so of course it's the Prussians, because they're evil.
Right.
They're fascists, they're evil. Of course they're working with the Martians.
Right. And as mentioned, we still have a few sympathetic Martians Martians who turned traitor who are in St. Petersburg.
Yep. Yes.
Moscow is definitely in Stalin's hands.
Yes.
And that's Stalin's capital. All right, so that's one sort of adventure seed. I like the adventures, the campaign seed for group of privateers who are like trying to disrupt Martian water shipments and such.
Yeah, and that could for more like a pulpy space pirate thing.
Right,
space adventure. That's what you do there.
And that could lead to that could lead to accidentally discovering the alliance between the Prussians and the Martians.
Yes, because they find Prussian Prussian robots on the shipment, on the ship.
Something along those lines.
Yeah.
But that's sort of one of the things that's an ongoing sort of campaign, and eventually oh God, what do we do about that? Another campaign seed is finding out about accidentally discovering the Venusian sort of spy games going on Terra.
Yes.
And sort of the possible paranoia of are they actually allied with the Martians, because they're spying on us, not knowing that they're spying on both sides.
Yeah.
And again, then we also
unbeknownst. Here's another idea for the Venusian thing.
Okay.
Venusians have limited have the ability to do limited mind control as sort of a weird lure thing, which is how they hunt back on Venus. But they've found that it works in a limited way on both Terrans and Martians. So you had the whole Mari Hari thing with the Venusians seducing members of both sides. So are they a Venusian agent now? Are they under Venusian mind control?
Possibly. That's one thing we could definitely. That's definitely one campaign concept to work with. Yes, I like it. So yeah, we got all sorts of stuff there, and then you got all the classic pulp tropes of explore going around the world fighting agents of all the sorts of stuff. And we've got the hints of mysticism from ancient mysticism also. Possibly yes. Way back.
We haven't talked about China at all in this.
Yeah, that's sort of hard. The problem is, again, I don't know enough about China to really.
Right. I'm going to draw from the admittedly questionable content of old pulp stuff, and have China be another like major source of mysticism, or at least the Chinese interior, because I like the idea of Mao getting his shit together and siding with Trotsky, which is why Trotsky's been holding out against the Prussians so long.
Okay, so yeah, okay, this is a very different Mao then.
Yes.
Because Mao was an asshole.
Oh, Mao is an absolute asshole, yes. But I like the idea of, and he's still an asshole, but he sees the threat both of the Prussians and of continued Martian aggression.
And yes, and is and the other thing is he's utterly infuriated with Stalin for turning on Lenin.
Yes. So siding with Trotsky is more of a fuck you to Stalin than anything else. And we'll have that be like northern China. The Chinese interior has all the wacky, like a weird giant resurgence of mysticism happening in the interior of China.
Okay.
Like a weird like a Shadowrun magical shift, Shadowrun level magical shift happened in the interior of China, but only in the interior of China. So it's practically a fantasy world in the interior of China.
I like it. So we got, okay, that's cool. And Ashburner points out, yes, we'd be seeing a less authoritarian brand of Chinese communism as influenced by Trotsky. Absolutely.
Yes.
But yes, so China, the interior of China is where the really weird shit's happening. That will confuse the fuck out of the Martians when they find out about it.
Yes. Well, it confuses the fuck out of everybody.
Right.
So yeah, that's where you can have your crazy that's where you can have your crazy feng shui level of zaniness.
Right.
With demons and cyborgs and all that stuff. That all happens in the Chinese interior.
Well, we already have clockwork cyborgs in Prussia. I mean, duh.
Yes.
All right. So yeah, we've got all this weird shit going on. All right. So I don't want to expand the world too much more at this point because it could start spiraling a bit out of whack, I think. But we're at a good point here, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, Ashburner, the idea of hopping vampires going against Martians. And yes, this is none of this is a Nemesis plot for you City of Heroes old fans.
Of course the Prussians have clockwork automatons.
Right. So yeah, we got a lot of weird shit going on there. So the question is at this point, so Eric, we got all these there are a lot horrors of different campaign ideas we could do in this, honestly. Like just it's
no, we could do like what am I we could do fucking Sky Pirates with their war zeppelins.
Yep, absolutely.
We could do crazy spy games with Martians and Venusians and Prussians.
But yeah, like here's the other thing.
We could base everything in pocket. We could have magic science spies in St. Petersburg.
Yeah, that right there is like the ages of and the thing about St. Petersburg at this point is they would be
working for Rasputin. Why don't we be playing this game right now?
But here's the thing, like they would be actively trying to recruit agents from anywhere they could get them.
Yes.
As long as because they are aware that while they've been able to hold out through their advantages and their few advantages here and there, and eventually either Stalin's for either Prussia / Stalin's people will and Stalin's still technically alive, but he's totally a brain in a clockwork jar.
Yes.
Trotsky's long past because he wouldn't have trucked with any of that.
Yes. But in his place there is a council. Trotsky saw the dangers of having just one successor with
right. He didn't want to. He did not want a cult of personality forming around the leader of his nation.
Yes, so he formed a council.
Oh, that's it. So this is so it's yes and yes. I like it. Yes and yes. But at any rate, so so Moscow is sitting there. Not Moscow. St. Petersburg is sitting there, deathly afraid. They've been hanging. They're hanging on by their fingernails.
Yes.
So if there are agents from other countries who are willing to help them and work with them, they're willing to accept them as long as they pass sort of pass muster that they're not like either Prussian or Muscovite agents.
Yeah.
Or Martian agents or anything like that.
The final one of which is you go into a room alone with Rasputin himself for an hour. You come out, you don't know what happened. No one knows what happens.
Right. No, I was thinking entirely that Rasputin was definitively the final test. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
And so a campaign idea of basically agents working to help protect Moscow against all the possible threats, and also
not St. Petersburg, not
St. Petersburg, yes, St. Petersburg against all the or even specifically focusing on the threats against not just St. Petersburg, but the world.
Yes.
Because Rasputin has had a vision that something really bad is going to happen.
Rasputin's had a vision that something really bad is going to happen. And Tsarina Anastasia is the only one willing to do what's necessary to save the world, and she's proven it over and over again, despite what people everywhere else say.
Right, and everyone else is giving credit to America and England and Japan, and nobody's been giving none of the governments are willing to give Anastasia the credit she deserves at this point.
Right.
It's sort of got this whole weird sort of Cassandra thing going on, St. Petersburg gives out this information on what's happened with potential threats, and nobody believes them at first because it's all based on this weird mysticism that it can't be tested.
Right.
Because it's largely based on Rasputin's visions.
Except for the Chinese.
But they are not positioned to help on most of them.
But they're not talking to anyone.
Yeah, the only people they're talking to is occasionally they're willing to talk to the Trotsky's council.
Right.
But yeah. So yes, but a campaign idea is working for Rasputin and trying to save the world that way. And again, in this setting, Japan, while the Japanese consider themselves, the superior race, they've got sort of a sense of noble oblige going on now with Earth.
Yes.
Due to what's happened with everything, so there could be agents.
It's not their fault that they're savages. They weren't born Japanese.
Right.
But we have to do our place to ensure the safety of the Earth.
Right. So they've taken on. So they've. You got agents for the imperial throne in Japan also.
Yes.
It's fairly cosmopolitan. But the other thing I love about the St. Petersburg one is you've got Rasputin running the agency, but you're also getting you've got, and that's the thing. So you could almost do sort of a quasi, almost like James Bond Mission Impossible thing, where you've got the Martians effectively as Q branch.
Yes.
You got these.
No, that's what I'm saying. I want to play this campaign where Rasputin's agents
where Rasputin is effectively M, and we've got the Martian defectors as Q.
Yes.
Oh, Ashburner, that's not bad. Trotsky is dead, but his ghost still lives on.
Oh, yes. Yes. That's awesome. Yeah, which is why whenever there's whenever the Great Communist Council comes together, there's always an empty seat, because it's literally Trotsky sitting there.
Yes! That's great! Yes, he's the literal spirit of communism. That's fantastic. Yes. All right. So, Zenith in the chat asks, what system? And at this point, it really has to be one of A
It has
very
to be
few.
either GURPS or Heroes.
Hero System or GURPS are probably the two best bets. I guess Savage World could work for it too. It's gonna be
Yeah,
up to you one sort of the
probably work
classic.
Savage Worlds.
It, it's gonna have to be one of the sort of. It probably will have to be one of the. You could almost do it with Shadowrun, with the modern Shadowrun stuff, for some of it.
Yeah.
But you'd have to do a lot of work with it. And you could sort of do it with Feng Shui also.
Oh, you could totally do it with Feng Shui. Feng Shui is so mutable. Yeah.
You'd have to. It would take some adaptation work, but you could do it with any of those systems, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe there might be some other systems that I'm not as familiar with that you could use, but I think Hero or GURPS would probably be your two best bets. That's sort of my.
From what I've heard, you can probably swing Fate also, but I've never actually played Fate or had a chance to really look at it proper.
Right. Yeah. Probably. Yeah. I've only glanced at it. I've not played Fate itself. But yeah. So those are. I think we've got things wrapped up there with our best campaign idea being Agents of St. Petersburg, being
Yes.
being Rasputin's men.
Why are we not playing this game right now? I want to play this game.
So I think that's going to do it for this episode of Surly Grognards. We often save time at the end of each episode for viewer questions. Let me check to see if we've got any, actually. I've not looked at our email account for a little while. For a few days. So let me just sign into that. I usually sign in... what's the password? That's not the password. That's the password.
Damn, I really want to be a British automan working for Rasputin to save the world.
Okay, I think that is the only mail I've got in
or even a Prussian defector.
Right, well, absolutely. There are lots of things that you could do with that. I mean...
Oh, a Prussian defector would be awesome. Because I've seen the horrors that are fascist Prussia, and I cannot stand by them anymore. I shall work to defend the earth.
Right, all sorts of stuff like that. So yeah, we normally save time at the end of each episode for viewer questions. We don't have any this week because we've not been doing shows as regularly. But if you do have questions you'd like us to answer, feel free to email us. Our email address is surlygrognards@yahoo.com, surlygrognards@yahoo.com. Or you can hit me up on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @MechaGM. I keep an eye on that. Or if you're listening to recording this on YouTube, feel free to leave a question in the comments. We also love getting feedback, so if you've got constructive criticism for us, ways we can make the show better, please let us know. We really, really appreciate that. And if you've got show topic suggestions, God bless us, we love those.
Holy crap, do we love those?
I mean, we can knock out these brainstorming things every now and then, or we could do whatever. Well, we haven't talked about just what the hell we've been up to for a while, so we could do that, or just randomly talk about stuff. But it's even better when we have an actual topic.
Yes.
And it's even better when you suggest when we are doing our viewers' topics for two reasons. One, it means that we don't have to we can save ourselves some effort on that, and we don't have to waste time thinking about that sort of thing. But primarily, honestly, at least for me, that means we're talking about the things you want us to talk about, things you guys want to hear.
Yes, that is probably the most important thing, honestly.
Yes.
Our general laziness aside.
Right. Oh God! But yes, we record the show. When we record it, we record on Mondays at roughly 7 p.m. Eastern on hitbox.tv/mecha-gm, and then I upload the recordings to YouTube on youtube.com/mechagm with no dash there. Other than that, if you enjoyed this and you're listening to this on YouTube, feel free to hit like and subscribe. That way you will know when new episodes go live. And if you're listening to us live on Hitbox, hi everybody, we love it. We love our live audience. Hi
live audience.
You guys are great.
Yes.
And yeah, that's gonna do it for this week. We might be doing another episode next week because I don't think we're going to be done with Irresponsible Captain Tyler for 3-minute anime next week. So because we're not, I think we're basically about halfway through.
Yeah, about that.
So yeah, thanks guys for watching. It'll probably be Grognards next week again. And if we come up with a topic, great. If we don't, we'll probably come up with some bullshit. Either way, guys, thank you so much for watching. Love you guys, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye, humans.